Jessica smiled sweetly, but I could hear the fake kindness in her voice. She waved a hand around my bedroom, that now looked like a pink and gold influencer's dream. Daniel said I could redecorate, something more fitting for a younger woman. I stood in the doorway, my stomach twisting. The soft green walls I had chosen were now bright pink. My vintage furniture was gone, replaced with flashy decorations. Even my family photos had been removed, replaced by Jessica's selfies. "You've been busy," I said calmly, "but I don't remember giving you permission to change my bedroom." Jessica smirked and stretched out on my bed, now covered in a glittery comforter. "Oh honey," she said smugly, "Daniel said you'd be moving to the guest room. We need the space, especially with the baby coming." I froze. But then I saw the look in her eyes. She was lying, trying to take over. I had seen women like her before. "The baby?" I asked, watching her carefully. "Well," she hesitated, "we're trying. Daniel wants to start fresh, with someone who can actually give him a family." That was a low blow. She knew about my struggles. Daniel must have told her. The pain hit me, but I pushed it aside. I had more important things to deal with. "Interesting," I said, walking to the bookshelf. My books were gone, replaced by her makeup and social media awards. "Daniel loves what I've done. We're thinking of redoing the whole house. Something more modern, less old." She gave me a fake sympathetic look. I was 37, hardly old. But to her, at 23, I probably seemed ancient. She kept bragging. "We're even making a TikTok room. Daniel supports my influencer career, unlike someone who was too busy with real estate." I smiled. My boring real estate job had taught me a lot, especially about contracts, property, and ownership. "That's quite a plan," I said, stepping into the bathroom. Even here, Jessica had covered everything in pink crystals and makeup. Jessica leaned against the door. "Daniel says this is my house now. No need for divorce papers or splitting property. You should just leave quietly." I turned to her, meeting her gaze. She really thought she had won. "Actually," I said, pulling out a folder from my bag, "we need to talk about something important." Jessica frowned. "What's that?" "The property deed," I said, placing the papers on the counter. She grabbed them, her nails tapping against the pages. "I don't understand. Daniel said the house was in his name." "Daniel says a lot of things," I replied. "But 2 years ago, when he was too busy to read what he was signing, he transferred the house to me. This house is mine." Her face turned pale. But he said." "I'm sure he told you a lot." I continued, pulling out my phone. "Like how he was separated, that I was cold and heartless." "Did he also mention the private investigator I hired 6 months ago?" Her eyes widened. "What? Or the hidden cameras?" I swiped through photos. "The ones that caught you sneaking in, trying on my clothes." That's not," she stammered, stepping back. "And I bet he didn't tell you about his grandmother's trust fund, the one that says if he cheats, he loses everything." I smiled. "That fund is worth way more than his medical practice." Jessica sank onto the bed, her confidence fading. "He said you'd just leave," she whispered. I picked up my papers. "Well, here's what's actually going to happen." The next morning, I sat in my lawyer's office watching Jessica's latest TikTok live stream on my phone. She was tearfully explaining to her followers how she'd been deceived and manipulated by an older man who promised her the world. Funny how quickly her story changed when she realized she wasn't getting my house. "Everything's in order," Amanda, my lawyer, said as she organized the final documents. "The cease and desist has been delivered to both Jessica and Daniel. She has 24 hours to remove her belongings from your property, and he's been formally notified of the trust violation investigation." I smiled, thinking about how Daniel had stormed into the house last night after Jessica called him crying. His face had turned an interesting shade of purple when I played the security footage of him promising her my house. "How dare you?" he shouted. "You set me up." "No, Daniel," I'd replied calmly. "I protected myself. There's a difference." Now, watching Jessica's dramatic social media meltdown, I felt oddly peaceful. The last 6 months of gathering evidence, staying quiet, and planning my response had paid off perfectly. "His grandmother's trust executor is reviewing the evidence," Amanda continued. "Given the extensive documentation we provided, they'll likely begin the forfeiture process within the week." I nodded, remembering the day I'd discovered the trust's adultery clause. It had been purely accidental. I was helping Daniel organize old family papers when I found it. He'd never bothered to read the fine print, too busy building his reputation as a brilliant surgeon to care about legal details. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "You've ruined everything. I hope you're happy." I showed it to Amanda, who rolled her eyes. "He still doesn't get it, does he? He ruined everything himself. You just made sure you were protected." "Speaking of protection," I said, "what about the house renovations?" Amanda grinned. "Already handled. I've sent invoices for all damage and unauthorized changes to both of them. The pink paint, the removed fixtures, even the stick-on crystals in the bathroom. They're legally responsible for returning the property to its original condition." My phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Daniel's mother, Eleanor. I'd been expecting this. I put the phone on speaker. "What have you done?" Eleanor demanded without preamble. "Daniel is devastated. That trust was his inheritance." "Hello, Eleanor." I replied calmly. Yes, it was his inheritance, right up until he decided to move his mistress into my house. She's young, she made a mistake, and Daniel, well, men have needs. Men have needs. I repeated, sharing a knowing look with Amanda. "Does that include the need to give away houses they don't own?" Eleanor sputtered. "He built that house." "No, Eleanor. He paid for half of it. I paid for the other half, and then 2 years ago he signed full ownership over to me. Would you like me to send you the documentation?" There was a long pause. Eleanor had always respected paperwork and proper documentation. It was one of the few things we had in common. "Send it," she said finally. "And the trust documents too." After I hung up, Amanda handed me another folder. "The property restoration company can start next week. They'll remove all of Jessica's changes and return everything to its original state." "Actually," I said, thinking about the garish pink walls and tacky decorations, "I might want to make some changes of my own. It's time for a fresh start." Amanda smiled. "That's what I like to hear. Oh, and one more thing." She pulled out her phone, showing me Jessica's latest social media post. The young woman was tearfully packing up her influencer awards, her makeup streaked dramatically down her face. "Guess she's not getting that TikTok room after all," I mused. Just then, my phone lit up with a text from Jessica herself. "I'm sorry. I didn't know about the trust or the house. Daniel told me you were already separated." I showed the message to Amanda. Should I respond? "Actually," Amanda said, using my favorite word of the week, "I have a better idea." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Amanda had been my lawyer for 5 years, and she'd never steered me wrong. "The trust executor wants to interview everyone involved," she explained, "including Jessica. Maybe it's time she learned exactly what else Daniel has been hiding." I thought about the other evidence I'd gathered, the messages to other women, the secret accounts, the pattern of manipulation that stretched back years before Jessica entered the picture. "You know," I said, "that actually sounds perfect." As I left Amanda's office, I felt lighter than I had in months. The house was mine, the trust was being investigated, and Daniel's carefully constructed world of lies was crumbling around him. My phone buzzed one last time, another message from Daniel. "We need to talk. Please, I made a mistake." I looked at the message for a long moment, thinking about all the years I'd spent trying to be the perfect wife, supporting his career, maintaining our beautiful home, and believing his excuses about late-night surgeries and emergency consultations. Actually, I typed back, "We don't." Then I blocked his number and drove home to my house. My pink-walled, crystal-covered house that would soon be transformed into something new. Something that was completely, entirely mine. The renovation company would arrive tomorrow, but tonight I had some packing to do, starting with removing every trace of Daniel and his mistress from my bedroom. 3 months later, I stood in my completely renovated master bedroom, admiring the transformation. The garish pink walls had been replaced with a serene blue-gray. My vintage vanity was back in its rightful place, and new family photos, featuring just me and my closest friends, adorned the walls. The doorbell rang, and I found Eleanor standing on my porch. Her usual polished appearance was slightly disheveled, and she clutched a thick envelope in her hands. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice lacking its usual commanding tone. "There are some things you should know." I led her to the kitchen, also beautifully renovated. and poured 2 cups of coffee. Eleanor looked around, taking in the changes. "The house looks lovely," she said quietly. "Very, you." "Thank you," I replied, sitting across from her. "What brings you here?" She placed the envelope on the table. The trust executor finished the investigation. "Daniel," she paused, collecting herself. "Daniel lost everything. Not just the trust, but his reputation at the hospital too. Apparently he was falsifying records to meet with women." I wasn't surprised. The private investigator had uncovered multiple affairs, all carefully hidden behind fake patient consultations. Jessica spoke to the executor, Eleanor continued. "Told them everything. She wasn't the first, just the boldest." "I know," I said softly, thinking of all the evidence I'd gathered. "Why didn't you tell me?" Eleanor asked, her eyes filling with tears. "All these years you must have suspected. Would you have believed me?" I asked gently. "Over your perfect son?" She looked down at her coffee, shoulders slumping. "No," she admitted. "I wouldn't have. I'm sorry." The apology hung in the air between us, bridging years of subtle criticism and dismissal. "Daniel's moving to Chicago," she said finally. "The only hospital that would hire him after everything." Jessica's social media posts about being manipulated by a prominent doctor went viral. His colleagues saw them. I tried to feel something, satisfaction, maybe, or vindication. Instead, I just felt peace. "What will you do now?" Eleanor asked, looking around at my renovated home. "Actually," I said, smiling at my favorite word, "I'm starting a consulting firm, helping women protect their assets and document suspicious behavior. Turns out there's quite a demand." Eleanor nodded slowly. "Yes, I suppose there would be." She stood up, straightening her jacket. "I should go, but could I come by next week? Maybe help you hang some new pictures?" I thought about it for a moment. Eleanor had never been the warmest mother-in-law, but she was trying now. Maybe that deserved something. "I'd like that," I said. After she left, I walked through my house, my beautifully renovated, peaceful house. The TikTok room was now a home office where I met with clients, helping them gather evidence and protect themselves just as I had done. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Just saw Daniel's mistress's new video. She's warning women about manipulative older men and promoting a legal advice podcast. Guess she learned something after all." I smiled, remembering Jessica's face when she learned the full truth about Daniel. She'd been a pawn in his game just like I had been once. The difference was, I'd learned to play the game better. Another text came through, this time from a potential client. "I found lipstick on my husband's collar. Can you help me?" Actually, I typed back, "That's exactly what I do." Later that evening, as I got ready for bed in my beautiful restored master bathroom, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked younger, somehow lighter. The weight of Daniel's lies and Jessica's invasion had lifted, leaving me stronger and wiser. My phone lit up one last time, an email from Daniel's new hospital in Chicago. "Regarding your documentation of Dr. Daniel Mitchell's misconduct." I smiled, marking it as read without opening it. Daniel's new life wasn't my concern anymore. I had my own life to focus on, my own success to build. As I climbed into my bed, now covered in elegant charcoal gray linens instead of tacky sequins, I thought about how different things were from that day 3 months ago when I found Jessica redecorating my bedroom. She had thought she was claiming her territory, marking her place in my life. Instead, she had given me the push I needed to reclaim everything, my home, my peace, and my future. Actually, I whispered to myself, smiling at the word that had started it all. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And for the first time in years, that was completely, undeniably true. The end